Could the United States have done more to prevent the Holocaust? In its root, Holocaust is a word of Greek origin meaning sacrifice by fire. The definition of the Holocaust was the systematic, bureaucratic, state-sponsored persecution and murder of approximately 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime. Before the Holocaust, European Jewry was thriving. Over 9 million Jews lived in Europe before 1933. Adolf Hitler was elected into office as the German Chancellor on January 30, 1933, completely democratically. Hitler's power brought a strong greed to fly Germany's flag over more countries. Hitler was able to gain power before the Holocaust through appeasement. He wanted control of more land and threatened to conquer more countries in Europe. Other European nations appeased Hitler, giving him land such as the Rhineland and Czechoslovakia, in exchange for his cooperation and dropping the need to continue conquering other areas. The U.S. was determined to remain neutral during World War II. They had come to the conclusion that their participation in World War I was not beneficial, and remained determined to stay neutral during this rising conflict. In order to prevent involvement in the European war, the U.S. instigated the Neutrality Acts, which prevented the selling of weapons and the use of loans to countries at war. The U.S. insistence to remain neutral made it incredibly difficult for them to make any impact whatsoever on the decisions regarding Hitler's appeasement. With Hitler's power came discrimination against many minorities, including homosexuals, those with disabilities, gypsies, and particularly Jews. Hitler began using the Jews as a scapegoat for the problems of Germany. What began as the simple denial of rights quickly became violent, starting with Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass. This was the destruction of synagogues and over 7,000 Jewish places of business on November 9, 1938. This is often thought of as the turning point which began the violence of World War II. After Kristallnacht, many German Jews saw the beginning of the persecution of Jews and wanted to immigrate to another, safer country. On May 13, 1939, the SS St. Louis left Germany for Cuba, with nearly 900 people looking to escape Nazi Germany. Most on board intended to stay in Cuba for a short period of time and had the paperwork to then move to the U.S. However, the strict immigration policy of the U.S. said that the U.S. had already filled its quota for Austria and Germany in the year 1939 and refused to make any exceptions for the ship. The passengers were sent back to Europe and became victims of the Holocaust. In September of 1939, the Nazis invaded Poland. This began the isolation of Jews into concentration camps and ghettos. Concentration camps came in all forms, from death camps to work camps. While the ghettos crammed too many people in spaces far too small with unsanitary living conditions and less than 300 calories a day for food, this period began Hitler's determination to complete what he considered the final solution. This was the complete annihilation of European Jews. In August 1942, the U.S. State Department received a telegram from a member of the World Jewish Congress explaining Hitler's plan to kill European Jews with the final solution. This message was supposed to reach the American representative of the World Jewish Congress, Stephen Wise. However, the State Department chose not to pass on the message. While Wise eventually got the message via Great Britain, the State Department would not let him publish this information for 3 months while they waited to confirm the information, at which point the U.S., along with 11 other nations, finally announced their condemnation of Hitler's final solution, warning Hitler there would be consequences for his actions. Though the U.S. government produced a warning to Hitler, FDR and the U.S. did not make many more actions to aid victims of the Holocaust at this time, as he believed the best way to help Holocaust victims was to win World War II in Europe. Allied armies began liberating concentration camps in 1944, and many were shocked at the scenes that they found. By the time World War II ended in 1945, in May, over 6 million Jews had lost their lives, as well as nearly 5 million other minorities. With that, 1/3 of world Jewry was completely wiped out. After the war, the U.S. and Great Britain were in the care of almost 1 million DPs, or displaced persons, throughout Europe. After the Holocaust, President Truman loosened the immigration policies for European Jews, and between the years 1946 and 1948, 16,000 Jewish DPs came to the U.S. The response to the Holocaust caused the creation of the U.S. Holocaust Museum on April 22, 1993. Though the U.S. took significant steps to aid victims after the Holocaust, the United States could have done more to prevent the detrimental effects of the Holocaust.